Right.
Get my water.
We're live on Women with Grit.
Hello.
Yes. Well, good evening, everyone. We're so excited to be here again with another amazing woman on Women with Grit this evening. Go ahead and grab a friend, grab your favorite drink, share this with whoever is in your immediate circle, and let them know we have another just phenomenal woman and exceptional woman with grit on tonight. So, Lee, how are things going on your way?
Things are going just wonderful on my end. Beautiful day out today. And I'm happy to say that I have retired from the financial services industry. We're in the transition right now. It just started.
So you're at the beginning of the end of the transition, if you will.
Yes, I'm at the end and still at the beginning. The transition was disrupted by some forces outside of the new owner, who is Terrell Perry, who's been a sponsor. But I'm excited. So I'm going to focus on real estate, on the table, and on Women with Grit. So awesome. I'm excited. Yes.
Do you feel lighter? How do you feel?
I feel lighter, but also because the transition, you're a process person, you understand. So because the transition is not going the way we would have planned it, it's disruptive because it's not, I've had clients, I've been in business 27 years. So some of my clients have been with me, like Trisha Williams in Atlanta. It was funny. I met her while I was going through training at this place called Dugan's. And she's always lived in Atlanta. I lived here, but she became a client and she's been one, for that whole time. And referred her friends and everything. So, so they're getting letters that I've left, but not from Terrell, just from the company we use as our back office. And but they hadn't heard from us yet. So we prefer we let them know ahead of time and get moving. But hey, to God be the glory, and this is definitely His will. He let me know a while ago that it was time to make the transition. So I'm excited. So I feel lighter, but I just disrupted with the best made plans of mice and men. So.
But you know what? Everything happens, and it is as it should be. And it'll continue to be smooth. But to your point, it's always a little bumpy, but at the end, it becomes what it needs to be. So
So Terrell's excited as well. It's a new day for him, and he's running. He's sitting in the big chair, as they say.
Sitting in the big chair. I love it.
Yes. But how about you?
Yeah, you know what, Lee? I am just continuing to plug along. I can't remember if I shared that I was working on book number 4. Yeah. So I'm still plugging away at book number 4, and we'll launch that towards the second half of this year. So I'm super excited about that. Got a lot of other stuff going on, expansion activities, which I will be excited to share. I'll probably do that next week. I'll share that next week. Just the expansion stuff that we're doing with vision strategy management. But I'm excited, like you said, it's a beautiful day out, and hopefully you all got a chance to get out and really enjoy and get some vitamin D in your system.
Yeah.
But it's been a beautiful day.
Yeah. Val got some chairs for one of our patios or terraces, I guess. So I sat out there today, took some phone calls, and it felt good. It felt good. So
that's where it is, and that's what it's about. So
indeed. Hope everyone else had a great day. Shoot us a message. Let us know how you're doing, and we're ready to rock and roll.
Let's roll. So Lee, if you would do the honors of thanking our sponsors,
I shall do that. So we want to thank Mr. Terrell Perry, the new president of Molet Investment Services. He may change it. He said it's been working for him, so he may not. So it's up to him. But he's the new president and CEO of Molet Investment Services. You can reach him at Terrell, TERRELL, at MoletInvestmentServices.com. Terrell at MoletInvestmentServices.com. And Terrell is around to help you with all your financial planning needs, investment banking needs, life insurance needs, and really just helping you grow and build wealth, something for you to leave to the next generation. And then, of course, Lauren Overton at Molet Investment Services. Lauren's still there and happy to help you with your company's retirement or health insurance needs, any type of benefit needs. She's ready to help you get pricing and get that implemented. And Mr. Leon Wright, MJC Insurance, mjcins.com, where they will shop numerous companies for you to help you find the best fit in insurance for you. It's not always about the lowest price. It's about the best fit for you and your needs. So give Leon and his team a shout. Again, mjcins.com is the website, and check them out. And of course, the one and the only Sherelle Lands, sherellelands.com, Vision Strategy Management, all the things that you need to get your help move your company forward, help move your personal, professional life forward. Sherelle, I know firsthand, is an implementer. So right. All the planning will not sit on your shelf. It will be implemented and executed. So make sure you give Sherelle a call. Go to her website, sherellelands.com. Check out her books and all the other things that she has available, all the tools she has to help you be the successful you that you want to be.
Awesome. And we make execution easy.
Execution is easy.
That's right.
Yep. It's not easy for everybody, but it's good to have somebody make it easy for you. So check her out.
Exactly. But that's the exciting part about it. Or at least for me, it's when you can achieve the milestones and see the progress, right? And even recognizing that sometimes you got to go backwards to go forward, just as you pull a slingshot back before it's in that rock.
Yeah, and I tell you, that's so true. And as I reflect, I was writing the letter for tarot sent out to clients, and one of the things that I said in there was, what was exciting for me is my clients that helped me live out my mission of helping everybody that was serious about investing, helping them, giving them professional service, regardless of what their income was. And in our industry, we have these different limits that we have, that a lot of advisors have before they take a client on. But I'm really reminded about one particular client whose son played Little League football with Lee. And she made about $40,000 a year. And she said, all I want to do is to be able to buy a house and put my kids through college. And so she bought her house. We got rid of all her debt. She bought a house. And she put her kids through college. And so I remember when her oldest one was going to school, and she called me and she said, hey, he's going to TSU. And then she just started crying. I said, what's wrong? She said, I can afford to send him. I can afford for him to go. And so that's exciting, makes to be able to do that. So it's all about the execution, people, all about the execution.
That's it.
Talk is one thing. The execution is totally different.
Exactly. Yep. Okay, so speaking on that, I would love to bring up our guest for this evening. You guys are in for another treat. We have an amazing guest backstage. We have Dr. Andrea Willis, who is the Senior Vice President and Chief Medical Officer for Blue Cross Blue Shield of Tennessee. And in her role, she ensures all of the clinical activities and quality endeavors support the needs of the members and contribute to the overall health and well-being of our communities. As the standard bearer for clinical excellence and positive health outcomes, she keeps quality care at the forefront of discussions with customers, providers, regulators, as well as key stakeholders. When you connect with Dr. Willis, what you'll find is that she has a passion for better health and a better healthcare system, which we all, can definitely appreciate. And that stems from her early professional years as a pediatrician. Within Blue Cross Blue Shield, she has served as the medical director, advising on care structures for many successful programs, including the Choices Long-Term Services and Support Program for the state's Medicare population and Cover Tennessee. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that she also testified in front of the U.S. Senate for the Hope Committee in 2020. And in 2019, she also was a distinguished alum recognized by Johns Hopkins University. And then in 2018, she was one of the top 25 minority health executives by Modern Healthcare. So without further ado, I would love to introduce to you all and maybe reacquaint to some Dr. Andrea Willis. Hi, Dr. Willis.
Hi, how are you guys?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm good. I was listening to you talk. I'm inspired just by your banter already.
Yes, you mean of your bio, what you've been doing?
No, what you guys are doing. Congratulations, Lee. Both of you are so accomplished. I'm honored to be here.
Thank you. It's so great to have you. Lee, before we go further, just know that we see your mouth moving, but you're on mute.
Yeah, there we go. So here's the thing, and I don't know if you noticed it last week. It's supposed to have been fixed, but up in my area where I am, I have a fireplace, and then I also have a smoke detector. And we were doing the walkthrough a couple weeks ago, the one-year walkthrough with the builder. And I said, hey, I can't use my fireplace because as soon as I turn it on, the smoke detector goes off. Yeah. He said, well, let me see what you're talking about. So I did. It went off, but it's been chirping ever since. It's so high I can't get to it. The electrician has to disconnect it anyway. But they ordered a different type of smoke detector, which I understand is in. He was supposed to deliver it today, but chirp is not. Yeah. So here's the funniest part about it, and I'll move on. So one of my business partners has a dog, and her dog wears one of those collars, and she said it makes this chirping noise when she goes past her boundary. So she hears it in the house, and she just goes crazy. She hears my chirp going off, and she just goes crazy in the house. So yeah. But anyway, enough about me. Tell us about you.
Yes. So tell us about you, Dr. Willis. Tell us about when you think about just your life and your unique story of grit. Can you share that with us?
Hey, and she's an author too. We'll get to that though.
I like to tell people it really started off with my upbringing. So I grew up in Athens, Alabama, and my grandfather raised pigs. And, we had to help all along, but then he had a severe stroke and he really was not physically able to do it, but he was not willing to give up his pig farming. So his grandchildren had to do it. And I'm the only girl, but he had no mercy that I was a girl. I was going to raise pigs with the best of them. And I did learn to do that. And the reason I like to tell that is because it really gave me a strong work ethic. Like that was 7 days a week. That was rain or shine. And I never forget that. With everything that I accomplished, that was a foundation because I know what that hard work is like. And even though I work hard in different ways now, that's always in the back of my mind. It reminds me where I came from. But at the same time, it's not that I look back and go, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that's behind me. That's what made me who I am today. Like, I don't forget that. With any success, I remember that. That work ethic is there. It's my North Star. It's that thing about you continue to try to strive and do things. And even in that way, we were serving. I mean, we were providing a service for people. And in my life today, I'm still serving. And I'm that same little girl inside that grew up knowing the value of hard work.
Love that. I love the fact that you mentioned that because I think about my grandfather has a farm and the same thing. And I remember it's nothing like getting out there with those boots on and having to actually roll up your sleeves. And I mean,
Oh, yes. And my grandfather would even use it as a test. I did not date much when I was a teenager, and you'll find out why. Because if some boy came to pick me up, we had to feed the pigs before we could go out on a date. Because my grandfather would say, he would watch the guy and he was like, He is not the one.
And I'm sure word got around town pretty quickly.
Word got around. So
yeah, it's interesting as we think about our grandfathers and what we learn from them. My development company is named Frank Stanton Developers, and I named it after my granddad, very much for the same reason. Now, I grew up in the city in Detroit, so I didn't get to. We weren't doing any farming, but we had grass to cut, and he ran a pool hall. So my brother and I would work on Saturdays in the pool hall, and I'm talking about when we were 9 and 10 years old. We catch the bus over to the pool hall and work, and he would leave. And this is a pool hall, and it's what you think of when you think of a pool hall. But everybody in there knew we were Frank's grandkids and not to mess with us, because all we had to do is say, "Hey, Daddy," we call him Daddy Dear. "Hey, Daddy Dear, such and such didn't pay." "Oh, okay," and he'd go take care of that. But again, it was the work ethic that he taught us. It was the savviness, the business savvy that we learned from him that carried us on. So it's interesting that you all both are talking about your granddads and what they meant to you all. That's the same with me, just not on a farm.
I mean, you were good not to be on the farm, Lee. Trust me.
Yeah. It was hard enough. We cut his mother's, or I guess it would have been my great grandmother. They still owned the house, so we had to cut the grass, and it had gotten tall. She didn't live there anymore, and it gotten tall, so we had to use one of those hatchets to cut it. So that was enough for me. And that's, we're talking about a city postage stamp size lot. But then, Andrea, to your point, my sister wanted some extra money, and he said, "Oh, okay, I got some grass for you to cut."
See, exactly. Well, the full circle blessing of it too is I got that work ethic, and my grandmother died in 2016. Long story short is I was blessed enough to be able to buy the land that I had to work on as a child.
You still have pigs?
No.
No, don't blame you. So tell us a little bit about your journey into healthcare. Why that specific industry or field?
I always knew that I wanted to become a doctor, even when I was a little girl. I always laugh. My first patient was a cat that was in a shed behind my grandparents' house that was actually trying to birth a kitten, and it wasn't going well. So like at 7 years old, I run in and get the dish gloves and some scissors. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew I was going to help this cat. Turns out all I had to do was massage the belly a little bit, and then the one kitten she had came forward. And so that was my first patient. I knew from that moment on, I was going to be a doctor, never turned away from it, anything like that. And so went on to medical school. I went to Georgetown for medical school. And there, when I was in my third year, I got to go and I got to see pediatricians testify in front of Congress, in front of the Senate committee. And I thought, wow, I would like to do something on a population basis. I never thought about that, honestly, when I was deciding I wanted to be a doctor. And then my full circle moment last year, I got to testify in front of that same committee that actually got me interested in really serving on a population basis. So it's just been really, really good. I mean, I feel like I just followed the path that God had for me. Not that it doesn't have its ups and downs, not that there's moments where you go, I don't know how it's going to happen. But I always say, like, I knew this was my journey. Like there's some days you don't know the right turn to make, but I knew it was my journey. So I never strayed from my journey.
Love that. That's awesome. Now, when you think about your journey, and as you think about working in that space, in that field, did you ever encounter any self-limiting beliefs or just doubt along the way, or even whether that's internal or if it came from another external force?
I definitely did. I just remember on the first day of medical school, coming home and just crying all night and just thinking, all of these smart people, what am I doing here? you know, it's just like, it's something about, and I think that some people play the game that way. They want you to know how smart they are, or they at least put on that facade. I've never been on one to put on a facade. So I bought into that and thought, I don't know how I made it here. And then it was really stepping back on faith and saying, well, obviously I had the credentials to get in the door, but it was faith that brought me to the door. Is faith that's going to get me through this. And so I just had to figure out how I would maneuver myself. I remember I would take tests. I would sit on the front row because I didn't want to see anybody else, because I would write on the top of my paper, it's me and you now, God. It doesn't matter who else is in this room. And that's why I would sit on the front row and take my test. And, you know, and then I started getting honors and on tests, and, you know, and it's still, then I was like, me? That's me. It's part me. The biggest part was God, but then it's really about stepping out on the faith. But there's not ever a time that you won't be underestimated. That was true then, it's true now. But the thing that I always go back to is, this is my story, and I'm telling it from my perspective, but there are a lot of other people that look like me that won't have the chance to tell the story. They won't have the chance to be at the table. And nobody can tell my story, our story, like I can. And so therefore, I can't be silent.
I tell you, that's phenomenal. So talk about, now, where did you go to med school?
I went to Georgetown.
Okay. So, you know, it's hard enough to get in there for undergrad. So for med school, a whole different story. So, but I can understand, you know, at least the thought process that you're going through. But you get there, and how did you navigate through Georgetown? I mean, so you had these self-limiting beliefs. How did you navigate, you know, on a daily basis to get through, to continue on?
Well, one thing that I have to give Georgetown so much credit for, they had actually a mentoring program for minority students, and it was called the GEMS program. And so it was a doctor. He had long retired from practice, but he was a mentor, and he had a small staff. And he interviewed me. He was my first interview. And when I say that man was so scary in the way he approached an interview, like, I wanted to cry. Like, he was tough. Like, he went into some straight, like, what would you do in this medical situation? And I'm sitting up like, I just came in the door. I haven't actually been in medical school yet. You know, this is the interview, but he just, and he got in your face and just like screaming. And I just thought, is this real? And I seriously wanted to cry. And I just thought, when I got ready to walk out of there, I was like, oh, it's over. It's not going to happen, or whatever. And so the second in command of that program came and said, well, I kind of wanted to know if I needed to start moving to DC, but she said, young lady, you need to start moving to DC. And so once I got in the program or whatever, one of the things we would do, he would make us take practice tests and everything in preparation for the tests that were coming up. And what we had to do was he would make us indicate how confident we were in our answers. And I would always put not confident, maybe, type thing. And then I would score well. And he pulled me aside and he said, young lady, why do you do that? It's like, I don't know. What if I got it wrong? He was like, you know how much you get right? He was like, your problem is you. And he was like, let me tell you what, you keep putting on here, you're not confident, and you do well, we're going to have a problem. And I will not continue to be your advocate if you don't believe in yourself.
Oh, wow.
And I so appreciate that, you know, that tough love. And I totally understand where he was coming from. And at the same time, one of the things he would do is say, now explain this, this, and this, whatever medical theory or, you know, and then he would say, listen, if your grandmother can't understand what it is you're explaining, you're not a good doctor. It doesn't matter if you're brilliant. If your grandmother can't understand, you're not a good doctor. And that's especially true for minority students, because you are the conduit to good health for so many other minorities. And if you can't put it in terms that they would understand, if you can't be a blessing to them, then you're not a good doctor. So wow. He really was about a lot of tough love, and he definitely made me stronger. And I so appreciate that now. So I try to, you know, impart that same thing to others that are coming up.
So do you find that you are able to, that you gain confidence throughout that process that is helping you now, or what are you drawing from your past that's helping you move forward outside of your granddad and God?
It's that, I mean, you know, really learning that not to underestimate yourself or not even downplay your strengths when you have them. He's one that taught me that. And then truly believing that you can't compare yourself to others. I mean, like, you have to really walk in your own calling and be very aware that you can't let outside noise distract you from that. But the other thing is, I've kind of learned to appreciate when somebody underestimates you, because you can take that opportunity to say, okay, all right, you don't think I have this? I'm not going to tell you, but I got this. You will see I got this. So I've learned not to argue with people if they want to underestimate me. I love it when somebody underestimates me. I will show you better than I will tell you any day.
All right. That'll preach.
Yes, it will. I mean, like, it really can. And I used to play tennis, and in playing tennis, I remember that exact same thing. Because I was small, and I remember within the first 3 months of learning, I was, you know, better than like people who were playing for many years. And so sometimes people would come on the court and they would be like, you know, they get all upset, or they would, like you said, underestimate you and wouldn't say anything, just okay. And then surely enough, you know, have them eat those words back. But to your point,
that's the fun part.
That's the fun part.
But I never bragged about it. It was just be like, okay, you know, keep it moving. And
it ain't bragging when you've done it. That's funny. I played tennis as well, and same thing. And you know, people would come up. You know, I grew up in Detroit, so I'm not expected to be playing tennis. I played all kind of sports, but they found out, it's like, oh, like he really is number one in the city. Yeah,
exactly. And it's really not bragging. I mean, you know, it's them, because that's what they put on you. You never said I wasn't good or I'm not capable. That was what they put on you. So I never feel bad for them to learn their mistake.
Exactly. Hey, before we go to break, because this is moving fast, Sherelle. But I want to hit this before we get on the other side. Talk about COVID-19 and the vaccine. And I mean, you've been very instrumental, definitely for the state of Tennessee, and obviously for your company, but for the state of Tennessee, you've been very involved and very active. Talk to us about where we are and what your recommendations are, what your thoughts are moving forward.
Definitely. So I have not minded speaking out on this, because COVID-19 disproportionately impacted minority communities. When you were looking at who was being hospitalized and who was dying, it was disproportionately minority communities. We were the essential workers in the grocery stores, in the hospitals, all of those places. So we still have to show up to work. So for me, the vaccine is a way for us to protect ourselves. And I really have wanted to be a spokesperson for it, because a lot of people in the minority community have been hesitant to take vaccines, because I mean, we do have historical context that people look at, like the Tuskegee syphilis experience and all of that. And what I like to point out to people is, first of all, if you look at that, those men trusted. But where we are now, we can read. We don't have to accept what's told to us. We can read. We can make an informed decision. We can talk to others that are in the healthcare field. And also in that, something was withheld from them. This is an opportunity to make sure that we get what we need to protect ourselves. And I want to see us doing that. I mean, you know, we're hearing about some adverse effects some people are having, 1 in a million. So I would just tell people, don't be deterred by that. I mean, do your homework. You've got to know, you know, that this is something that is protective. And again, I go back to, we were disproportionately impacted. And for people that say, I don't trust the healthcare system, so we're not going to trust for the vaccine, but we will trust the healthcare system when we get in the ICU. I'm going to put I'd rather be on the preventive end of things.
Good point. Good point. Yeah, good point. It's good to be able to prevent going into the ICU or and being rushed to the emergency room and all those things. So thank you for that. Obviously, today the Johnson & Johnson vaccine comes out as having some issues, but to your point, it's not every shot. It's 1 in a million, essentially. So
right.
Well, Dr. Willis, this is such an enlightening conversation. We're going to give you just a minute to grab a drink of water, and then we'll be right back.
Or wine, whatever you're drinking.
Or wine. Your beverage of choice.
Thank you.
And then we'll bring you back up. We already see a couple of questions coming in our chat function. So we'll be right back with Dr. Willis. All right. Well, Lee.
All right.
Our sponsors again. Oh, you know, I never remember to bring mine. So what are you sipping on today?
Oh, just some sweet tea from Bojangles. And then I do have my water. This is my water, but
is it really tea or is it tequila?
It's real tea. I don't want to start slurring my words. Not live, not for this show, but you know, we'll have another one when we kick off Wealthy Wednesdays. I may be drinking.
Okay. Yeah. So do you want to announce that now or you want to wait?
We'll wait a little bit. We'll wait a little longer. So just remember that term, Wealthy Wednesdays, something that we have coming up. We have some fun stuff coming up. So just hang in there with us. Hang in with us, and you'll hear about it. So sponsors today: MJC Insurance, Mr. Leon Wright and Company, MJCINS.com. Reach out to Leon and his team, and let them get you quotes. I just got a quote from them for some business insurance. They have my auto insurance, some of my rental property insurance. So very comprehensive company that can really help you get the best fit of insurance for you and your family. Also, workers' comp coverage and umbrella policies, all those types of things are covered, and coverage is you can pick up with MJC Insurance. So give them a call, give them a chance. Terrell Perry at Mollett Investment Services, Terrell, TERRELL at MollettInvestmentServices.com. Make sure we're in the second quarter. If you haven't got your plan together, if you haven't executed your plan, if you haven't executed your goals and your objectives that you set at the beginning of the year, now is the time to get your financial house in order. You need life insurance. Don't keep putting it off. We don't know our day or date or time. We just don't know. So we don't want to have a GoFundMe to cover your funeral. It may come up short. You may wind up in a pine box. And then just your overall wealth planning. Before you know it, 27 years goes by, and if you haven't planned, then you know you're trying to figure out what you're going to do in the future. So make sure that you plan now and start putting up investing for the long term. SherrellLands.com, Vision Strategy Management, where execution is made easy. See, I'm a quick study.
You got it.
Check out SherrellLands.com. Order books for gifts, books for yourself, books to move you forward. look at the training programs that Sherelle has coming up, and they will be very beneficial and a blessing to your life. So definitely check her out as she strives to help you move you forward.
On that note, Lee, I want to make sure that I put out there that we will actually be doing a talk at the Small Business Expo this year in May. So be sure to check us out.
Okay, awesome. Check her out in May, Small Business Expo. All right. I tell you what, what, and I know you normally you'll give a wrap up on the other end, but I think, Dr. Willis's brief comments on COVID-19 and the vaccine resonate with me. And I know I was one of those, I'm gonna wait. But I'm glad I got mine. And it came from a good friend of mine he kind of said the same thing that you said, Andrea, about the vaccine. So I got it, Val got it. We're good to go. And, and the fun part is you feel more comfortable mingling with other people now once you have it.
Exactly. I've gotten mine. My family has gotten theirs as well. And you're right. I mean, you can mingle with people that have been fully vaccinated. So it's just a sense of freedom. I mean, I know we still have to practice precautions. We want to see us get to herd immunity, but it feels good to have done everything that we can do to protect ourselves and the ones around us. I mean, there are still vulnerable people around us. So it's more than just for you.
Yeah. So on that note, I do have a question, which is, so what would you say, Dr. Willis, to someone who's apprehensive about the fact that, for the most part, the vaccines are still very much in active clinical trials? So even with, you mentioned Johnson & Johnson earlier, Lee, and to me, when I think about it, I'm like, okay, well, it's still in trials. So things like that would come out in this third phase.
Right. So what I would say is, for one thing, like the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccines, for example, they're mRNA vaccines, messenger RNA vaccine, and they have been studied for decades. It just turns out that COVID was the right disease to deploy it against, because, it has that spike protein. Everybody's seen a picture of what COVID looks like now, and it has the spike protein. So this mRNA actually makes what I call a look-alike spike protein. So once you take the vaccine, your immune cells gobbles it up. You have this fake look-alike spike protein. It can cause disease. It won't cause COVID. But what it does is it stimulates the body to be able to attack the real COVID spike protein. It knows what to look for now. So they have been studied for decades. Because we were in a pandemic situation, tens of thousands of people volunteered for this trial. You hardly ever get that many people volunteering for a trial. That's a lot of people. So it went through phase three trials and everything successfully. No corners were cut on that. What is different is that we didn't wait like 2 years to put it out on market, because we're in a pandemic right now. So that's the part that we don't have. But what I like to tell people is, you think about it, any medication has side effects. You weigh the pros and the cons. You take too much aspirin, you'll lose your hearing. You take too much Tylenol, you'll get liver damage. When you go to have a surgery, what do they tell you about anesthesia? A risk of anesthesia is death. Do you see anybody not doing life-saving surgery, even though they tell you that's the risk? There is not one medicine, not one therapeutic that doesn't have a risk. People can have an anaphylactic reaction from antibiotics. You don't know it until you take that antibiotic. It happens. And we've had antibiotics for how many years? But it's not until you take the antibiotic for a second time that you could have the anaphylactic reaction. So my thing is, it's not different from anything. I think we saw like a year or two ago where they started taking blood pressure medications that have been out there for years. They took them off the market. And that's what I say. We find out about any medication over time if it's going to be, a side effect of it. So while there's tens of thousands of people in these trials, which is remarkable. And the FDA has actually been proven things that have been tested on as few as 6 people. There are some drugs out there now that have been tested on as few as 6.
Wow.
This has been tested on tens of thousands of people. So it's not different from a lot of other things. I think it's just that it's in focus right now, and we all are having to think about it, but like I said, every drug, every medication has a side effect. Mm-hmm. Wow. This is not different.
Well, you broke that down, especially that surgery or the anesthesia.
I mean, seriously, they tell you that up front. You will not have a surgery and go under general anesthesia. And they tell you that a side effect could be death. But we have that surgery. I mean, if it's life-saving, we have it.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, we have our colonoscopies and all that stuff too. So,
yeah.
Yep. So, great point.
Yeah.
So I wanted to kind of twist a little bit. You talk about your faith, and you talk about God, and then you also work in medicine. And you and your brother came out with a book together. Was it a year ago? About a year ago?
Yeah. Well, everything runs together now. Right before COVID.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about that book, and also if it's still available, make sure people know how to get it.
Yeah, so it's called When Ministry Meets Medicine. And so, I'm a doctor, my brother's a pastor, and we would have these epic fights, these really epic fights over, somebody would be diagnosed with something. So like he would say, for example, our dad was diagnosed just a few years ago with kidney cancer. He went to the doctor with my dad. The doctor said, looks like you have a tumor on your kidney. And it looks like, by my read, that it's all over the body. And he said, but this was a primary care physician. He said, let me send you to a specialist and get some better imaging, and then we can really tell what's going on. So my brother called me up and he told me what the doctor had said. And he was like, he said, it looks like it's all over his body. And I was like, okay. And he was like, that's it. That's all you got to say is, okay. And I was like, well, he said that's by his read, but let's get a better test so we can figure out what's going on. And he was so angry with me because I wouldn't get upset. And so my thing was, let's find out what we're dealing with, and then let's make a plan from there. What he heard me say, we talked about it later, was what he heard me say is, you're being irrational, you're not thinking, so you need to just calm down. And I was like, that's not at all what I was saying. I was saying, I can't get upset over something that I don't know what the situation is. I don't even know exactly what we're praying for yet. It's one of those things, as soon as we hear something, sometimes we just gonna take it to the Lord in prayer. Okay. Do we know what we're taking? I kind of want to know. That just helps me. So we had to have that conversation. And then we both ended up going to the doctor with my dad for the diagnosis. And, what we realized is my dad needed me there to be calm and to ask the right questions. But what he needed from my brother was to say the prayer to give him that comfort. And so we were like, we need to come together on this, because there is a place where medicine meets ministry. And what I told my brother is, medicine is my calling. Your calling is to be a pastor, but this is my calling. And what I need you not to do is downplay my calling, preacher. You get out there and pray and do that. Right. And you let me minister in my way. Mm-hmm. But let's figure out how we can come together, because we both want the same thing.
Gotcha. It's interesting. And I hadn't really thought about this until right now, but a number of our large hospitals are some sort of faith-based. St. Thomas or Ascension is Catholic. Of course, there's Baptist. and then you go across the city or across the country, you have Methodist Hospital. And so you have these hospitals that, obviously they practice medicine, but they're faith-based in their founding.
Absolutely. I can tell you, I honestly could not be a doctor if I did not have faith on my side, because you get in there and a lot of things are too big for you. I mean, it's just too heavy. You don't want to be in a position where you can have somebody's life in your hand and think that you're big enough to carry that. Like, it really is, to me, I feel like God can heal through medicine. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like the best doctors he has his hands on, and they are just an extension of him.
Wow. That's powerful.
It is.
Okay, I want to make sure that we get an opportunity to ask or to get the audience's questions. This is just such a good conversation. I feel like we need a part 2. So the first question comes from Eric, and he said, upon entering Blue Cross in Tennessee, how did you work through the incumbent corporate ethos that may have been opposite of your core values?
So when I came into Blue Cross Blue Shield of Tennessee, I actually came in at an entry medical director position. I honestly just really wanted to do good work. And when I came to them, they knew my background because we had worked together when I was at the state. Like when I started Cover Kids for Governor Bredesen, Blue Cross was our partner that, actually administered the benefits. So I had got to know them that way. And then as Governor Bredesen was leaving, I wanted to make sure I had a place to land since I was an appointee. And I reached out to Blue Cross, like I said, came in an entry-level position, really had, my head down, just day-to-day work. And that's all I wanted to do. Did not honestly have big aspirations, didn't even think about it. I was just like, ooh, I landed. I'm glad, I'm getting to pay these bills. I mean, that's really where things were. And then over time, we had the Choices program we were just implementing, and I was asked to help get that up to speed. We struggled a little bit at the beginning and was asked to help get it up to speed, did that. And then the chief medical officer position became available, and I was the low man on the totem pole. And so I didn't apply. And over time, the position stayed open. Still didn't apply. The COO at that time reached out to me and said, why didn't you apply? And I'm thinking, I'm the low man on the totem pole. No, this is not going to happen, But I thought if your COO asked you and you don't do it, that's you saying you're going to stay in that same position forever. So I was like, threw my hat in the ring. Long story short, I became the chief medical officer. I leapfrogged a lot of people. And everything. But in my interview, I came in, I was like, this is who I am. This is who I'm going to be. This is who I'm always going to be. And I mean, I really was confident, like either they're going to accept me for who I am and what I stand for, or they're not. It was that simple to me. And lo and behold, 2 weeks later, I was a new chief medical officer, and I've had probably one of the longest tenures of the chief medical officers across health plans.
Awesome. Thank you. And okay, so there is another question. I want to make sure that I ask it. It is from Sharonda. She said, what are your thoughts regarding pregnant women and children as it relates to the vaccine?
So right now, the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists put out a statement today that they still recommend that pregnant women get vaccinated, but they do recommend that the pregnant women either get Pfizer or Moderna. They are not recommending Johnson & Johnson for the pregnant women. But one of the reasons that is a recommendation is that pregnant women are actually considered high risk for COVID-19. So they are some of the population that has been getting hospitalized unfortunately more than the general population with COVID-19. So it is definitely a recommendation. And they're even finding out for the pregnant women that get vaccinated that they can pass antibodies on to their babies, which is a great thing because babies actually have had COVID-19 as well. So it is protective even for the babies. For children, right now, you can get the Pfizer vaccine to age of 16. For children, for the Moderna, it's down to age 18. But Pfizer has just petitioned the FDA to be able to administer the vaccine in 12 to 15-year-olds. So we're thinking maybe we'll hear word back from the FDA mid-May, and as early as fall, 12 to 15-year-olds will be able to get the vaccine, and then probably younger than that, although the trials are going on right now, but younger than that will likely be early next year.
Wow. Awesome. Well, thank you. Okay. Yeah. The next one was simply, as you think about your career and advancing as a woman, what advice would you give to other women who are striving to succeed in the medical field?
I would just say, in my case, even though I always believed in myself, stepped out on faith. I always took the opportunities that were offered to me. So I would just say sometimes, people say, oh, you got to make it on your own. You got to make it on your own, which yes, once you get your foot in the door, then you need to make it. But be clear about when somebody's opening the door for you. Like, run through that door. Like, I never miss when somebody's opening the door for me. Like, when I got to start Cover Kids, for the Governor Bredesen, I had actually traveled with him to a National Governors Association meeting. He got to take 2 people. I got to go after that, serving as his subject matter expert at that event. When we got back, he said, Tennessee doesn't have an S-chip program. Would you like to start it? And I was like, sure. And he was like, have you ever done anything like that before? I was like, no. But I was like, hey, he asked. Right.
Yes.
I'm going to figure it out. Even like at Blue Cross, where the COO said, why didn't you apply? I honestly had not been thinking about it. But when he opened that door, I ran right through it. So I would just say, keep your eyes open for somebody opening the door for you. And step out on faith. It's not all the time you're waking up going, I'm going to do this. Sometimes it's bigger than you can even imagine. And somebody opens the door for you, and just be prepared to run right through it.
Yep, that's big. Hey, question for you. So I see my cousin Eric on here. What's up, Eric? He's up in Michigan. And of course, we know and he said, thank God you're not up here in the hot spot. But, so we are seeing states that are spiking right now, like Michigan. What would you do if you were the governor?
Well, I mean, definitely the thing is, I would love to see the mask mandate stay in effect longer. I would love to see people continue to do the public health measures, the social distancing and all. And I know it's been a pain. I know we're all sick of it, but just even think about, we hardly even saw a flu season this past year. Like, we were doing all this protective stuff for COVID. Has anybody even heard about flu last year? Seriously.
That's a good point. Yeah. I haven't heard. That's a really good.
Exactly. I guess we protect ourselves from that. It works. It definitely works. So I would still want to do the protective measures until we can get more people vaccinated. And by the way that it was rolled out, it was usually for the older people first, and then the younger people, didn't have access to the vaccine at first. And so they're the ones that are spreading it more. They're the ones that are being hospitalized more now. So it's really about getting the younger people vaccinated now.
Got it. Hey, Philanice Nash, how are you? Philanice was one of our guests and a good friend of ours. She has the Philanice Nash Experience podcast. Good to see you. And Sharonda Scott said to tell you hello and good to see you. She's one of your Mount Zion fam. Yeah. And then Laurinette Sweeney said hello, Dr. Willis. So hey, that's your fan club over here. Did you have any other? You see any other questions, Sharon? Sherelle, I'm looking at Sharon.
It's okay. Yes. But no other questions in the chat functions on either of our feeds. But if you all have any questions, feel free to ask them while we still have a little bit of time left with Dr. Willis in this awesome conversation. Thank you so much, Dr. Willis.
Yep. Terry W.
having me.
Terry W. Jones said to tell you hello. It's an outstanding program.
Oh,
Terry, Mr. State Farm, I'll give you a quick shout out. You're going to owe us a fee next time.
That's right. But while our guests are thinking about their questions, if they have any further ones, what are just your parting words, any pearls of wisdom that you would like to leave?
I think the other thing I'm so grateful for, honestly, I truly am grateful for this forum with you all. I mean, it is so helpful to be around other people that are making big moves. I am inspired. I am in awe of others and what they're doing. And I'll never stop being in awe because it makes you want to be better. So I truly, truly do appreciate even getting to be around you all. And I mean, I look out at the other people that are doing it big out there, and there's so much more to aspire to. So, I mean, I think you never get to a place in your career where you stop learning or you stop, dreaming of what seems, unattainable, because, it's always possible, always possible. And, it's so funny because some people said, when I came to a health plan, like, oh, you went over to the dark side, or whatever. And
all your physician friends.
All my physician friends. Oh, you went to the dark side.
I know a couple of them.
And then what I always say is, no, I'm going to be light wherever I go. Like what you want, right. You want me to go to the health plan because you want me to get over there and do what's right. So I'm always going to bring light to what you consider the dark side. And what I can truly say is that this position has put me on the stage in so many ways that I could have never imagined. Some of the things I've gotten to do on the national level just from having this position. So this is just another step in my journey. And I mean, I appreciate it. I mean, I wouldn't give anything for my journey. What I would say is every time I go to a higher level, I'm thankful for that higher level. But what I always do is ask God to give me strength for the journey, because you never go to a higher level and you don't come across the higher barriers that you have to overcome. So I'm just grateful for the journey, and I'm always asking for strength for the journey.
All right.
Right. Yes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Bobby Thomas Jr., BTJ Insurance Group, formerly Nationwide, said, tell you, great job. And Ebony Wallace, one of our regulars, said she loves the, what's that? In awe of others. And we're in awe of you because you've broken some barriers at Blue Cross. Let's keep it real now.
Yes.
It's been amazing.
Yeah. I don't think it's been a whole lot of people look like you in the C-suite.
No. But I mean, it's like, it's been awesome because I mean, you do have to work hard to, be there to open the door for others. That's the other thing. Like, it's not all about me. It's like doing what I can do to do a great job, but making sure that job also opens the door for others to come into the C-suite.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Thank you.
My last question for you. So you have a big May coming up, right?
I do. So my son is graduating from NYU in May. I am so excited. Yes, it's been wonderful to see him grow, to see him do this. And, I think about some of the conversations you and I have had and things like that. So I have to throw this part in. Not only is he coming out and he did great academically, he's coming out debt-free. I didn't go into debt to send him to school.
All right.
And that's huge, because
That's
I
huge.
want him to get to come out and do what he wants to do in life and really get to make it about his purpose and not have to worry, about paying off a lot of debt. So he's not done yet. He's going to law school after he graduates. So
what happened to the surgeon? I don't remember. It was like a nuclear surgeon. So he's going to go to law school.
Yeah, he wanted to be a radiation oncologist.
Okay, yeah.
Pre-med got him.
Okay. It didn't just hit him from mom and dad going through it, huh?
Well, what I thought was really funny, because I never thought that medicine was really his thing, but that's what he was determined to pursue. And once he got there, he was like, this pre-med stuff is hard. And he was like, man, y'all were really smart, weren't you? How did you think we got through it? It's hard work, but dang.
Right. Well, congratulations, Cam.
Thank you.
Wow, man. Like I said, wish we could continue to go on, but we are past time. So I want to make sure that let me make sure we don't have any last questions before I run through some of the recaps. So many pearls of wisdom that you have shared. So thank you so much, Dr. Willis. Everything from, nothing replaces hard work. So be willing to do your work. Be willing to pick up the plow and put it to the field. Carve your own path and be comfortable in walking in your own path and recognizing it. Have the faith to believe in yourself, even if it means putting blinders on. And just the example and illustration about sitting in the front of the class so you're not distracted. So minimize those distractions that you need so that you can press forward. Recognize your own unique greatness and be comfortable walking in it, cultivating it, and molding it. Recognize that you will always be underestimated, but no one can share your story but you. So be comfortable sharing your own story because people need to hear it. And one of the things that I wrote down here is that just the emphasis on mentoring, and that mentoring is fundamental, and having someone in your camp that is willing to give you that tough love so that you can be the best version of yourself and exude the confidence that you need to believe in yourself and know that you truly are enough for your own destiny. Don't downplay yourself or your strengths. Walk in your own calling and radiate your own shine. Weigh the pros and cons of the decision as it relates to the vaccine the conversation that we had about getting vaccinated. And if you don't exude confidence for yourself, then who is going to believe in you? So believe in yourself. Be clear about when someone is opening the door for you, and own your own stride. And I love that quote, which said, keep your eyes open for someone opening the door for you and be ready to run through it. So we'll have to make sure that we tagline that and make sure that we quote you for that.
Yes, indeed.
Yes. Never stop dreaming or aspiring. Never stop below where you are. Continue to push. Be a light wherever you are and be comfortable even in those dark places, because it may be, that dark space may be waiting on you to exude and illuminate your light. Be grateful and humble and constantly ask for strength. That will help to carry you through. And finally, as you continue to press forward, don't forget to open the doors for others. So that's what I've captured, although there was so much more gems that you left, Dr. Willis.
Oh my gosh, you did a great job. Thank you.
She's really good at that.
Oh my gosh, very good.
Yes.
Thank you so much. We're just so elated to have you and to share this time and share you with our audience. So we appreciate you.
Oh, thank you so much. And I truly got so much from you guys. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you share with your friends the replay. If you haven't started following us following our Facebook page, please do so. If you're not on Facebook, go to our YouTube page, Women with Grit YouTube on YouTube, and subscribe. We have a great show coming up next week. And we have some really, man, we're going to finish this season up And we just have some heavy hitters, more heavy hitters.
Yes.
You know, just like Dr. Willis, we have the quality of our guests is consistent throughout the end of our season. So we're excited about that.
Yes, all exceptional women with grit. Next week, we have Jackie Griffin, who is also going to be gracing the stage and sharing her story. So we thank you so much, Dr. Willis, for all that you are doing for the lives of others and just continuing to be a light and a pillar in every area that you are. So thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you. All right, everyone. Thank you all. Everyone have an amazing week, and we will see you next Tuesday.
That's right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.